Welcome back to Chukitibu Media.
Breaking news analysis. Nigerian Gov negotiates release of jailed politician Ike Ekeremadu. Breaking news reports that the federal government of Nigeria has sent a high-powered delegation to the UK to negotiate the release of a jailed politician and organ harvester, Senator Ike Ekeremadu. This event is a critical development in a high-profile international criminal case filled with serious political, legal, and ethical overtones. 1. Background and context of the case. The said politician is no other than Senator Ike Ekeremadu, one of Nigeria's longest-serving and influential politicians, who, until recently, had held the position of Deputy Senate President. The crime. In May 2023, Ekeremadu, his wife Beatrice and a medical middleman were convicted by a UK court, the Old Bailey, for conspiracy to arrange or facilitate the travel of another person with a view to exploitation, specifically for organ harvesting under the UK's Modern Slavery Act. The victim. The case involved the attempt to bring in a young man. He was reportedly a 21-year-old Lagos street vendor to the UK to harvest his kidney for Ekeremadu's daughter, Sonia. The victim had been reportedly exploited and was falsely claimed to be Sonia's cousin in visa applications. The sentence. Senator Ekeremadu was sentenced to 9 years and 8 months in prison. The judge noting his entitlement, dishonesty, and hypocrisy, particularly because he had helped draft Nigerian laws against organ trafficking. The negotiation. The move by the federal government of Nigeria, under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu, is to send a high-powered delegation officially reported to include the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Attorney General to engage in talks with UK authorities with a view to an early release, repatriation, or transfer to Nigeria to spend the remainder of his sentence, probably through a prisoner exchange agreement. 2. Moral and political implications going forward. The intervention by the government of Nigeria to negotiate the release of a convicted felon, especially one involved in such a heinous crime as organ trafficking, brings up deep moral and political questions. Ethical considerations. Favoring the elite over the vulnerable. The extensive, top-of-the-line government intervention in favor of a wealthy, convicted politician contrasts sharply with the general lack of resources and legal support often available to ordinary Nigerian citizens in similar or lesser predicaments abroad. This fosters a perception of elite impunity, wherein power and influence might shield one from the rigors of the law, even on the international stage. Undermining anti-trafficking efforts. The conviction of Ekeremadu was seen as a big victory in the war against organ trafficking under international laws. Negotiating his early release may undermine the moral clarity of the conviction and send a negative signal to the world regarding Nigeria's commitment to combating modern slavery and the exploitation of the poor. Well-being of the victim. The negotiation is for the comfort of the convicted politician and not the victim of the attempted exploitation. Morally, the trauma of the victim and the vice of poverty-driven organ trade should be of concern rather than the comfort of the exploiter. Political and legal implications. Sovereignty and international relations. Although a prisoner transfer is a legal diplomatic process, a request for early release might damage the bilateral relationship with the UK, which prides itself on the independence of its judiciary. The sentence, the UK judge said, sends a message that no matter your power and entitlements, you are not above the law. The fight against corruption. This is the misuse of state resources and diplomatic capital for the protection of an individual found guilty of a crime, which can erode public trust in the government's commitment to anti-corruption and the rule of law. Setting a dangerous precedent. A successful negotiation for a high-profile organ trafficker may set a precedent that encourages other wealthy elites to believe they can escape justice for crimes committed abroad, so long as they secure high-level political intervention. 3. People's reactions. Public sentiment in Nigeria. Public reaction in Nigeria to the initial conviction and the subsequent attempts by the government and his political colleagues to intervene has been mixed, but it is heavily dominated by criticism and anger, especially on social media platforms. Anger and class divide. A significant chunk of the population is incensed. They see the government's move as a clear display of the disconnect between the political class and the ordinary citizen. The government is seen to invest so much in trying to save one of them, while issues affecting millions like insecurity, poverty, and weak local governance are often left to be dealt with. Calls for justice. Several Nigerians took to social media, praising the UK's rule of law and how Ekeremadu was not treated as a big man but was rather brought to book. Any attempt to get the sentence commuted is a subversion of that justice. Sympathy and regional loyalty. Minority view a smaller proportion, often from his home region or political allies. Sympathizes with Ekeremadu's ordeal, viewing his actions as those of a desperate father trying to save his daughter. They say the government has moved to stand by a son of the soil, or even question the UK justice system on humanitarian grounds. Perception of PR ineffectiveness. Studies have shown that the Nigerian government's initial public relations strategies concerning the Ekeremadu case were widely received as ineffective by Twitter netizens, suggesting a deep public skepticism about the government's handling of the crisis and its commitment to the public interest over elite interests. UK government stance. Lack of official statement. So far, according to the latest reports, the UK Ministry of Justice has not issued any immediate official statement confirming the reception of the high-level Nigerian delegation or providing details about the current status of discussions. Stance. Implied. The UK operates a judiciary that is strictly independent of the executive and legislative arms of government. Any decision regarding a sentence, its review, or a prisoner's release is primarily governed by UK law and its internal review mechanisms. Precedent. The conviction itself was hailed by UK prosecutors and the Metropolitan Police as a landmark moment, the first conviction of its kind under the UK's Modern Slavery Act 2015 for human trafficking for the purpose of organ harvesting. The sentence was delivered to send a global message that power and entitlement do not place an individual above the law. The Prisoner Transfer Treaty. While a prisoner transfer treaty exists between the UK and Nigeria, its application often requires the prisoner to have served a minimum portion of their sentence and meets the requirements.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you for watching. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing so you won't miss out any of our latest video.